All right, let's get started. Thank you guys for taking time out of your day to join us. We know that as business owners, you do not have all the free time in the world, so we're very appreciative to have you here. Today, we're going to talk about something that has a huge impact on local businesses and your local marketing. We're going to talk about getting Google reviews consistently and not feeling awkward asking for them. So, we're going to walk through a system that you can use right away to generate more five-star reviews without begging customers or feeling weird about it. You'll see how to ask at the right moment, what sentence to use to ask for them, and how to take away friction so that when you do ask for them, people actually follow through with leaving that review. And we'll give you in our workbook a 14-day system that you can put to use right away. For those of you who don't know us, we're Rook Digital. We work with local and service-based businesses across the country to increase their online visibility, generate leads, and turn the online traffic into revenue. A lot of what we share today comes from personal experiences, conversations that we have with our clients, and our own business. And I'm excited to introduce our speaker today. It's Phil Hudson. He's the CEO and co-founder at Rook Digital. He has a vast background in digital marketing. He's been doing this for over a decade. And with that, I'll let him take it away.
Hey, thank you so much, Megan. Thank you all for being here. Looks like live we got Shandy, we got Eric, we've got William. Appreciate y'all showing up. I know we got a lot to do, lots of things going on in our lives, and when you come and join us, we want to make it as valuable as possible because we know there's plenty of things we should be doing with our day. We're going to dive in pretty quick. One of the things I wanted to highlight here is just to make sure you all know that if you have any questions, you can just put them in the chat, and then we will answer those questions as we go. So we can have a Q&A at the end for anything you want to deep dive in, but if there's something that's topical or relevant, we'll stop as we kind of go through into kind of sections of this to make sure that you can get the most out of it as possible. I am a serial whiteboarder. I prefer a whiteboard, so we're going to use my iPad here as a whiteboard today. If you've attended any of our web classes in the past, you'll know that I do this, and hopefully it's helpful for you. I'm a visual learner, so I appreciate it. So that should pop up right there. Perfect. Kevin, it looks like it was our cable was just going through my monitor was the problem. We got to fix.
Cool.
So, by the way, we've got Kevin Lewandowski here. Kevin, I'm going to stop my share. Kevin, if you want to come on real fast, just introduce yourself as well. Kevin will be facilitating questions both live here in the Zoom, but also on YouTube and the other streaming platforms we're live on.
Hey everyone. As Megan and Phil said, thank you for joining us today. We're excited to dive in. Yeah, any questions you have, feel free to put them in the chat. And I also dropped the link to the workbook in the chat, so you're welcome to download that and follow along.
Cool. All right. Okay. Well, let's get started. So, what are we talking about today? This is kind of the big topic. It's really just straightforward. How to get more five-star reviews without feeling awkward, right? And the awkwardness part, I think, is a big thing we all face. But the main thing, right, is we all want more five-star reviews. And by the end of this, we'll help you understand how to get more five-star reviews in 14 days without begging. And I think that's a mistake most people make is they feel like when they're asking for a review, it's like they're asking for a favor. We're going to get into that a bit more. But what you're doing is you're asking for someone just to leave honest feedback about their experience with you. And if you provided a good, valuable service, there's no reason to feel uncomfortable about that, right? But we'll get through it. So the big thing to understand is we got to understand this kind of review path, right? So here's you. And we've got different business owners. If you're live, if you don't mind, just in the chat in Zoom or on YouTube, go ahead and put what type of business you have. That'll help me kind of tailor our messaging today to you. Sometimes they're services, sometimes they're professional businesses, sometimes they're e-commerce, and so just kind of better understand what types of reviews we're seeking will help me provide better feedback. But we're going to assume you're a service-oriented business. We're going to talk about like a plumber. It could also apply to a doctor, dentist, anything we're talking about here. But here's you, and you are going to do a job. So you go to a house, you fix the pipe. The customer comes out, they're very happy, which is great. You like that. So you ask them for a review. After that, this is your Google business profile. That's your map listing. Here's your name, your phone number, etc. And then they go and they leave you that five-star review, and everyone's happy. Why does that matter? Because that will lead to more calls. And that then Really, what we care about is better jobs or better customers. So, how does this work? Well, we live in a world that's influenced by things like social proof. So, for example, if I tell you something, we talked about this on last week's web class, but one of the rules of sales is that if I, as a salesperson, tell you something, then I am lying. But if you tell yourself something, it must be the truth. And that's the value of a review, is it's providing trust, it's providing proof, it's also providing social proof. And social proof is if everyone else has had a good experience, I'm probably going to have a good experience too. And so this helps sell you on the idea that you're the right person to hire. Okay. So reviews are important. Reviews don't just help rankings. And to be crystal clear, as a digital marketing agency, we like rankings. We want you to rank higher. The higher you rank in Google, the higher you show up in AI recommendations, the more business you're going to get. That's a very important thing. Okay. In the world of AI and what we call AIO, which is SEO with more steps. Okay. AIO is filtering. All right. So reviews don't just help rankings, they help you get chosen. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get chosen. If a customer goes to your Google business profile and they find you and they like you, great. Okay. If they go to your AI search results and you pop up, they look for someone in your service area and they pop up, great. Okay. All of those things are helpful, but it ends up helping a customer choose you. Okay. So awesome. Looks like we got William here. William, you work in another digital agency and you're concentrating on getting Google reviews for people, which is great. So hopefully you can take some of this and apply this to your clients and help them. So if there's any questions here, go ahead and ask. We're happy to help support. We believe in the law of plenty here. So we're happy to help you as well as our other clients. Okay. So reviews don't just help rankings, right? They help customers choose you. That's the big thing we want to think about. So number one, there are three things that reviews do. One, they build trust. Two, they build conversion. Three, they help you rank. Trust indicates that you are the safe choice. Conversion means they call you. And then ranking means you show up more. So rankings give you better visibility. If you get better visibility, you get more calls. And the trust becomes an infinite cycle of trust. I can't really draw the universal symbol, but that's an infinity symbol, so don't judge me. But that's what that is right there. Okay. All right, any questions there? If you want better leads, you need better reviews. End of story. Okay. Any questions on the YouTube side or any of our other platforms?
Nothing yet.
Okay. Let's keep going. So let's just talk about like the big elephant in the room. Why does it feel awkward to ask for reviews? Okay. It can really be summed up into kind of three situations. So I'm going to put them in boxes. Box number one, You feel like you're asking for a favor. We talked about that before. Number two is you have a fear of rejection. And then number three is you're asking at the wrong moment. Okay. So let's talk about this. Why does it feel like you're asking for a favor? If you provided a valuable service to somebody and you've taken them out of pain, you've resolved pain, you've provided relief, it would be appropriate to ask for a review. People want to see reviews. They would like to provide reviews. So you're not asking them for a favor. You've done them a great service. This is something that you should be able to ask for, and they should be willing to provide you. Number two, fear of rejection. That's not something I can really help you with, but if you've gotten to this point, you've already served the client, you've already closed the deal, that fear of rejection shouldn't be a factor anymore, but it still is. I don't want them to say no. What's it going to hurt you? What does it do? Right. And when I was in sales early on in my career, I learned very early on that rejection is a part of the process. So if I simply just ask, there's a math game. For every 10 asks, I might get one yes. So now how fast can I get through the 9 no's? And every no becomes a thank you. Right. So if 9 no's is if I can say thank you, 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 and get a yes, great. And what I did learn is if I never asked for a sale, I never got a sale. So you've got to do it. So don't make it awkward. Don't fear it. Just get over it. And a little bit of momentum helps you get going. For me in sales, the worst thing I had to do every morning was pick up the phone for the first phone call. After that, it was fine. It was just momentum. But that very first one was the hardest one. So just go for it. It's like jumping into cold water. You just got to jump for it, right? If you're timid and you slowly go into water, it's going to be even harder to succeed. So just go for it. That's the rule. All right. So, and then the moment, you might be asking at the wrong moment. If you're getting no's, typically it's because you're asking at a time when it serves you or it's inappropriate or when it's an afterthought. And we're going to talk about how to solve these problems. Okay. So awkward isn't you. It's your process. It's the way you feel about it. It's the way you handle it. And it's when you ask for it. And we can solve those things. You're going to get more reviews for your business. And as we know, that builds trust and it builds leads. It gets you all those things. So let's talk about the right time. Okay. There's only 3 moments to ask. 1, right after a win. 2, right after you get a compliment. 3, right after the problem is solved. So right after a win, whose win? I think very often as business owners, we think about a win as our win. Oh, I won a deal. I won a sale. I won a new client. But remember, you're there solving a problem for somebody. So the win belongs to the client. It's not your win, it's the client's win. Okay. So whenever you provide a win for them, that's a great time to ask because they're excited. They got what they were hoping for. What about right after compliment? Thank you so much. It looks great. Really fast, etc. Whatever it is. Okay. Whatever it is. If they provide you a compliment, that's a great time to ask for one. Hey, while you're saying that, thank you so much. While you're saying that, I just want to make sure you knew we'd love a review from you. Is that something you'd help me out with? All right. And then last is when the problem is solved. So I think too often we forget the sales cycle once we're this deep in this. So we can break a sales funnel into kind of stages. So the client at this point already knows that they have a problem. They have belief that there's a solution to that problem, right? The next thing they need to do is they need to find a provider of that solution. And then they make a decision. At the end of that funnel, that's when a transaction happens. But the transaction is not done. And I think all businesses fail here because we focus on a transactional relationship of, I'm going to take your dollars. But the job is not done until you have solved the problem. So that this is done when there is relief. When the client's problem has been resolved, that is when it's over, and that is when you can ask for your 5-star reviews. And that is the ideal time. You have taken them out of pain. In sales, we call this a pain point. You've removed them from pain and you've provided them a solution. So this, in my opinion, is one of the best times to ask for a review, and you're more likely to get it. Okay. So always ask at a moment of relief. You'll see more success there. Okay. All right. Next. The one sentence ask. There doesn't need to be some spiel. There doesn't need to be some long pitch. It's just a really simple question. Would you mind leaving us a Google review? It helps a lot. Okay. It's just that simple. Would you mind leaving us a Google review? It helps a lot. Now, one of the things that I learned as well, there's a lot of psychology around this. But if you just ask somebody for a favor, people are inclined to help you. Generally, people are good, especially in America. Like Americans, we're good people. We want to serve and we want to help. Very often, we will go out of our way to support and help other people, even if it means setting aside what we're working on or our other tasks, because that's just what we do as Americans. Now, that may not be the case in some cities, but generally it's the case. And there's a lot of psychology around the ask. Hey, would you help me with something? You're far more likely to get someone to complete something if it's a request for help. Okay. So make sure you ask for help. You let them know you are helping me out by doing this. Okay. And it goes a long way. Okay. The other thing that I would add to that, if you can mention the service and city, that would be great. Okay. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. So if you do it that way, you just have a simple request and you make it an ask, you're far more likely to get the result you're looking for. All right. So let's look at the next step, which is how do we remove friction? So we love our funnels here at Rook Digital. So we're going to keep going with our funnels, kind of drawing that out. That's your big empty entrance point. And in your funnel, right, the first thing we need to do is we need to ask. We need to link. It needs to be done in 30 seconds. And then at the end, it'll be posted. So that is the funnel flow. You ask, you provide a link, takes 30 seconds, and then at the end of that, it gets posted. So that's your outcome, is it gets posted as a review, right? We might even say 5 stars. I still draw 5 stars like my first grade math teacher or fourth grade teacher taught me. Not math. We were talking about math earlier before this call on the Rook team, but still draw them the same way. Don't at me. All right. So let's talk about frictions. We talk about friction a lot on these web classes. I think if there's anything that's helpful, is to remove friction from any of the sales process. These are easy wins. So just think, what is the easy win? Just tackle one of these at a time. So number one, you should have a direct link. You don't need to send a, hey, go to Google and just look for us. You should have a link. So eliminate searching. No searching. How do you do that? You can do a QR code. You do a text, you do an email. If you're a Rook client, we like to provide you these fancy little cards and these fancy cards that you can just tap to somebody's phone and it takes you right to your Google business profile so that people can fill out and leave a review for you. That's what we like to do. Okay, so we'll just call that an RFID card. But there are 1,000 ways to do that. Just make it direct. Don't make them search. If you make it so hard for them, they're not going to do it at all. Okay. The next thing is a text beats email. Open rates on text messages is wild. So if you're not doing SMS marketing, open rates are crazy compared to email. People are far more likely to open something sent on their phone, especially when it has an image attached. Some weird science behind that. But if you are sending these out, try to do it over text. It just feels like a more personal request. And remember, help. Hey, would you mind helping me out? Hey, earlier you said you'd help me out. Here's a link to do that. Okay. Follow up. And then you have to follow through. Make sure you do that. The other thing you can do is you can ask in person. It is hard to reject somebody when they're standing in front of you. People will do a lot of weird things to prevent awkwardness. So if you feel awkward, turn it around, right? I'm not saying make your clients feel awkward, but it's just hard to ignore you when you're in front of them. It's easy to ignore you when you're just a faceless text message or email. So if you really want to do this, do it in person and then send link immediately. I volunteer at my church and I work with young men, 12 years old, 13-year-old boys, kind of guiding them, teaching them like goal setting and a bunch of stuff. And one of the things we did is we assigned a task this week. And I said, who's going to do that? And one of them was like, I'll do it. And then the question was, when are you going to do that? He's like, I'll do it on Monday. And I said, you're going to text somebody else about something on Monday? Why don't you just pull out your phone right now and just send the text? It takes no time at all. So just do it now. Just pull it up. Again, if you have an RFID code, if you have, you can send a V card, you can just tap to share. There's a bunch of things you can do in person to make that work better for you, and you will get a better result. More people will follow through if you do it in person. So one tap, done. All right, we like the one tap here, Rook. You're going to see a much better output if you do it that way. Okay. William asked a question here. Kevin, do you want to answer that while I pull forward?
Yeah, he just wants to know what industries, businesses are best to use the RFID cards.
Yeah, my opinion is it's typically a service-oriented business where you're doing service on site. So if you're a plumber, electrician, HVAC, you're doing work at somebody's house, a contractor, an inspector, those work great. Dog sitter works. My dentist has one, right? So my dentist has one at checkout. It's just a little card sitting there at checkout, and you just they don't even ask. They should. They would get way more, but if you just tap that on your way out right after paying, you can get more that way too. Okay. So they work for anybody, but I think definitely in-person services. We like to send them out to people who have a fleet of cars, like say you're a plumber with like 5 trucks. We just send it with the technicians and it just stays in the car. And then they just pull it out at the end of the job right after paying. Hey, would you mind helping us out with the review? Great. Tap here. And that's it. You don't have to stand there awkwardly while they do it, right? But they'll probably do it more likely if you do. They're probably more likely to. Good question. All right, that is the worst 5 I've ever drawn, not driven, and I'm not very good at drawing 5s as it is, so that was real bad. So let's talk next, which is how do we build your review engine? Okay, so rules. 1, you're going to start to ask for 2 per day for 14 days. And that's 28 asks. Okay. If you're in business and business is functioning in any way, you should be interacting with clients twice per day, right? That should be pretty easy to accomplish. And if you're just starting out, maybe it's 1 a day. Whatever it is, you just want to ask. We want to get to the point where we're asking for at least 2 per day. And then the next thing, you want to expect 20 to 40% conversion if done right. So big asterisks here. If done right. So if you follow the rules we talked about before, If you go back and you review those and you do that, 20 to 40% conversion. What does that mean? It's 6 to 12 new reviews in 2 weeks. Okay. So do that. You're going to start blowing up reviews pretty quick. And if you do that consistently over time, it's going to compound and it's going to get better. Remember, the better your reviews are, the more likely you are to get people to sign up for you and call you. And so therefore you're more likely to get more reviews. And so this is a compounding effect. The more you do, the better it gets. The more you have, the better your clients are, the more likely they are to leave reviews. Also, the more clients you're going to get. And so you're just going to impact your business significantly with a compounding effect of just starting today and being consistent, like most things. Okay. All right. Next is, how do we get better reviews? How do we get better reviews? Specific equals trust. Now, trust has implications for AI search, for browsers, and for comparison shoppers. So trust cannot be understated. It is incredibly vital that you have trust. Make sure that everything you're doing online reflects your trust and builds trust that you will serve them. Okay. So you want to do this by, you want to get specific by, you want to talk about the service and the city and what did you like? Hey, tell us what we did. Two, what city we did it in, and what you liked about what we did. Is the fact that we showed up on time, that it was quick, we cleaned up after. If you're a painter, I know that's a big one. I was living in a house in California and they came and they painted, and the cleanup, we were just so impressed with how well they cleaned up because we've had experiences before where contractors left a microwave in the backyard and that kind of stuff. And it's just a bit of a nightmare and you're dealing with their problems. We're dealing with that right now in the house we live in. We had a bit of a flood, not a flood, we had a leaky pipe and it broke some stuff and they had to come in and do some abatement. And we are still waiting for them to come restore things. It's been over a month. So there's real reasons. And the more specific you are, the more you can hit a pain point someone has had. If I have another issue and I have to have a restoration company come in and they say they were quick, they were responsive, they showed up when they said they did, and they cleaned up their mess, I'm probably going to hire that person because those are my pain points, right? And I am a human being just like you are and just like you are. So just keep that in mind. All right. So again, speed, cleanliness. I don't know how to spell cleanliness. Need a dictionary, Kevin. Go get me one. And price transparency. I've talked about this on another web class we did. We had our furnace go out in December. We're living in an old house, built in like the 60s and 70s, and the furnace went out. It was out for 2 months, and the first company that came told us we needed a brand new furnace, and they used all these scare tactics. And then we called the previous technician. He was like, "Yeah, your blower's bad." It was an $80 fix instead of a $2,000 unit, right? So that's pretty common. And that guy was guessed who came and told us we needed a new one before we even he guessed. He's like, was it these guys? I was like, yep. He's like, they always do that. It's like, all right, there you go. They have a ton of good reviews, by the way. Think about that. How's that happen? So, so
Phil,
one
a quick
thing,
question for you.
yeah,
So my competitor has 3 times the reviews that I have. Do I have to have more than them to get more calls? How does that work?
yes and no. So the quality and quantity of the rankings, the specificity, the keywords in the rankings, all of those things help you get more phone calls. But it doesn't mean that you need more. Whoever's number one in the map pack tends to have more. That is kind of like steroids in the weight in a bodybuilding competition. If they're not testing for steroids and you can use steroids, use the steroids. Like that's kind of the rule. You're like, it's like I was talking to a friend who plays baseball, and he said, if you're not cheating, you're not playing hard enough. And I'm not advocating for cheating, but it's that kind of rule here. The more you have, the better. So let's be very clear. You need as many reviews as you can get. It helps no matter what you're doing. At the same time, there are a lot of other factors that go into this. Your on-page SEO, the keyword density, the meta titles, meta descriptions, the structured data, all of the things that we do for our clients matter, and they can beat reviews, but I think more is better. But the quality also matters more too, because it's going to serve reviews and people within a radius of where you are, but they're also going to serve people who are looking or can respond to specific questions you're asking in your query in Google. But yeah, it's a good question. So I would say most of the time, but not all the time. And there are ways to beat your competitor who has 10,000 reviews if you're just starting out. So good question. Anything else?
Nothing right now.
Okay, awesome. Okay, then we can keep plugging along. Okay. So one of the things we talked about last week was when you're talking to a client, you can give them a script for a review. That doesn't mean you have to spell it out 100%. It doesn't mean that you write it for them and post it for them, but you can give them an example. And you can say, hey, here's something that we wrote. Do you want to tweak this, or are you okay posting this? And again, that's another way to reduce friction. So you can give them something a little bit more with your prompt. So you can write it to them and send it to them, or you can say again, kind of like we did above, you can say, where do we have it? Right. If you can mention the service and city, that would be great. Like, would you mind leaving us a Google review? It helps a lot. So that's a good prompt example to start with. But beyond that, you can even send them an example and say, hey, here's something that most people say. If this applies to you, feel free to post it or write it on your behalf, and you can get more reviews. Do not game them, do not cheat them. That has FTC issues and compliance issues, and you can get sued and lose a lot of money to the federal government. I don't recommend cheating that at all. Don't pretend you have reviews that you don't. Don't fake them. They should be real, they should be authentic, and you shouldn't suppress them. If they're bad, they're bad. And let's talk about that next. So how do we handle bad reviews and damage control? So it's inevitable. Someone's going to leave a bad review. And I mentioned this in another web class that I once had a client freak out and said, hey, I just got a bad review. How do I take it down? I said, you don't. Congratulations. I said, what do you mean? Doesn't a 5-star, we're no longer a 5-star company. And I said, congrats. Yeah, you look more authentic now, because no one's going to trust a perfectly 5-star reviewed company. It's just not how it works. There's always that angry person. There's always someone mad. There's someone you're not going to make happy. So, you know, having a less than perfect reputation online is actually a good thing. It means you're a business. Right? There are crazies in this world. We all know them. We work with a friend of ours, and we run a Facebook group and a challenge for them. We just had someone complaining in like a 7-post complaint on the forum about how they were disappointed that something happened and they couldn't participate, and we never replied to their email, and there were people engaging. And I checked and we had replied, and I just posted publicly, hey, I think we replied on this date. We didn't hear from you, but if you want to email us, we'd be happy to handle this for you. And I was able to provide a solution. And at the end, they're like, thank you. I'm so sorry I missed that email. I didn't see that. And then I said, not a problem. Would you do me a favor and please post in the public group that we got this resolved? You don't need to tell them how we resolved it, but just let them know so that it doesn't feel like we're in a bad spot. And to their credit, they did. And they went in and they said, hey, I missed the email. They were great. They worked with me. I'm excited to keep learning. So we turned a very hostile, angry situation into something that will look like a benefit for anybody reading that. And that's what we want to do. We want to talk about the rules. So one, respond fast. You should have notifications on your Google business profile, Yelp, whatever it is, to be notified when reviews come in. You should be screening them every day. You should be looking at them and you should be responding to them. Next, no fighting. When someone offends my character or my integrity, I tend to want to fight. I get very upset by that. But that doesn't do anything, it doesn't do any good. Okay. So don't do that. And some people just want to fight. That's what they're trying to do. So don't give into that. So no fighting. You just don't. Okay. We're going to stay emotions out of it. You're going to state facts. Here's what happens. Here's when it happened. And then you want to invite them to an offline solution. Hey, Gladys, I'm so sorry you were upset by that. I'm going to give you a call here in a minute. Let's see how we can make this right. Right. Or feel free to call us and we'd be happy to discuss this with you. Okay, another bad 5. Future customers are reading your reply. So how you present yourself online will tell your customers how you handle disputes and problems, right? So it's another way of vetting. And if you handle it professionally, they're more likely to trust. If you get in a fight with them in the comments and you name call and you get emotional, it's going to turn some people off. So you want to make sure that you keep it tight, keep it concise, and you keep it professional. All right. So let's talk about the final step here. Let's close it out. How do we close the system? How do we make sure that it works? 1, ask at the right time. 2, use one sentence. It's not a story, it's a simple request for help. 3, remove friction, make it easier. 4, track how many asks you're making per week. It's a great quote. What gets measured gets managed, or what gets measured and improved. Okay. So the more you're tracking things, the better it's going to get. And then lastly, what we want to invite everybody to do is we want you to sign up for an audit. That's where we'll come in. We'll review all of this for you. We'll help you build a system for yourself. We'll look at how many cases you're dealing with per week, and we'll help you. If that's something you're interested in, you can go to rookdigital.com/audit, where we can go through. We'll spend about an hour. We'll walk you through your whole business, identify a bunch of other issues, but more than anything, we'll help you with the stuff we talked about today. So if you're joining this week, make sure you bring this up. It's either myself or Paul who will help handle those. Paul is our Google business expert. That's all he does all day. He just helps people solve these problems. So we do those audits for everybody. Happy to help you. So make sure you sign up and we can get you squared away. Okay, we went fast today. Not a lot of comments, not a lot of content. And I think this kind of highlights something that I notice. About 70% of people who sign up for these web classes never show up. All right. Sometimes they're busy, but the lack of attention and follow through here, it's really interesting. People don't even watch the replays. So why do we do that? In your business, if you're here live, you showed up today, how are you going to implement this? Congratulations, you showed up, you're here, you're spending the time. How are you going to implement this in your business? Take some time and figure that out. How are you going to start asking for reviews? What is the question you're going to ask? Identify the customers you're going to ask this week to do it and execute that 14-day plan. And I promise you're going to end up with more reviews than you ever would have because most people are not even asking. That's your follow through for today. So make sure you do that. If you want some help, you wanted some guidance on what to do, just sign up for the audit. It's free. We do it for everybody. Other than that, we got time for questions. And if there's no questions, we'll let everybody get back to their day. We got lots to do. We're all busy. Not a problem there. Any
Phil, I got a
questions?
couple questions.
Yeah, go for it.
So you kind of touched a little bit on this, but what's really more important, the number of reviews or rating?
Um, 6s, right? It can go either way. And one of my favorite examples is the local Chinese restaurant. I would trust a 3-star Chinese restaurant over a 5-star Chinese restaurant. I would never go to a 2-star Chinese restaurant though, right? Google's going to rank people traditionally based on how high their ranking, how high their score is, but it's also again related to your query. So if you do a search for best movie guy pan in Salt Lake City or Los Angeles, California, it's going to pull up a radius around you. Again, we're dealing with the panda and the penguin filters. We talked about those last week. So you have a specific radius that you can work in, and outside of that, you're just stuck. Like there's not much you can do with it. And then it's going to pull up reviews that mention the Movie Guy Pan. It's going to understand your website and whether or not you serve that on your menu. If you're a local bit restaurant and you've got that on your menu listed on your listing in Google Business Profile, all of those things are going to help you because it's what the user is looking for. And then it's going to make recommendations based on, hey, maybe they have 5-star reviews on that product, but they only have 2 stars on orange chicken. They're going to still promote the one that offers what your user is looking for. That's why the specificity matters. For a service business, if you're doing HVAC repair in Simi Valley, California, and I'm in Simi Valley looking for HVAC repair, I'm probably that review is going to show up and it's probably going to grab my attention more. And Google knows that. It's providing a better result to Google's end user. Okay. So at the end of the day, those are all things that we, have to consider. It's not just cut and dry. Okay.
Next question. How can people get their team to consistently ask for reviews?
Yeah, you really got to incentivize, right? There's a great book called Don't Shoot the Dog, and it's about incentives, right? Incentives will always beat discipline, and so incentivize them. I was in Santa Monica for a business lunch, and I had to park at a hotel for the valet, and tipping is a big thing in LA, and I didn't have any cash, and I asked them if they had a Venmo, and they said, you know what you could do? Go to TripAdvisor and leave a review with my name in it. They got a $25 spiff from their boss for every review because they were trying to grow their reviews on TripAdvisor for the whole hotel. So that's a great example. And I followed through and I did it because they asked me for a very specific ask, like, hey, here's a review. Like they did exactly what we're talking about. And I left it. And I even made sure they knew it was my blue truck, right? All right.
Next question. Do you have any kind of like general tips on, de-escalating a negative review? I know you said, comment with the facts and then, you can hop on a phone with them, but some people will take those facts that you post as personal attacks
Yeah.
against them.
Yeah. Great question. For that, Shandy, thank you so much. Shandy said, appreciate your time doing this webinar. Good, straightforward info. And yeah, the awkwardness, you just got to get over it because at the end of the day, you have taken them out of pain. Remember that. They're out of pain. You removed that friction point and that pain from their life. You're entitled to ask for a review. And if they want to leave a negative review, they can. Now, to answer your question, how do you de-escalate that situation? I think this is, again, a really hard thing for me because I am a person of integrity and it matters. So when people insult my integrity or my work ethic or they misrepresent things, my strong sense of justice kicks in and I want to fight. And I do. And so you just have to take a deep breath and you just have to remember stating the facts prevents confrontation. It avoids that. What are you doing? The damage is done. The review is live. The only thing you can do now is de-escalate that situation, provide a response, and then ask them to take it down. That's all you can do. So damage is done. Fighting with them is just going to make it more likely that they won't take it down. And some people won't take it down anyway. No matter what you do, they will never be satisfied. So you're just auditioning for the next people. You're presenting again, here's how I, as a professional business owner, handle business. And this is what you can expect to deal with me if there's any issues. That's it. But we're all humans and we know there are crazies out there. And there are crazies who are going to cause problems no matter what you do. You know how I feel about squeaky wheels, Kevin. I'm not a
Yeah.
fan.
Yep. That's all the questions that I've gathered from YouTube and all that stuff. But if anyone on the Zoom chat, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask a question live if you want. We have
Yeah,
time.
William, I saw your mute was off. Did you want to ask?
I do. It's been a
Yeah.
great, you've enjoyed the webinar, picked up a lot of great tips. So I'm just now getting into the review part and I'm looking at everything. And I'm really kind of quizzed on the cards, the RFID cards.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm talking with a client, let's say it's a plumbing company, and they have 172 Google reviews because they've been in business for a while, and I go and approach them in reference to this new method, what are the advantages of using the card then versus the system they have right now, whether they're emailing them or they're texting them or whatever they're doing. But, obviously something's working for them because they've got, 150 plus reviews, right? What would the advantages be in switching or transferring or using a card instead of their current way of doing, of grabbing reviews?
Yeah, to me, again, any ask in person is more likely to be followed through on, right?
I
Like,
agree.
yeah, so that's it. It's just purely like, okay, what's your current conversion rate? And if they don't know that number, find out that number. And
Okay.
if right, because if it can always be better. And the answer is if you're not doing this and we know the value of more, then this will get you more. Why? Because you're asking someone face to face, and again, it's the timing. It's timing, it's instantaneous. You're tapping a card on their phone, and then it loads your Google business profile for them to leave a review. And you can program the RFID cards to be anything. It can be Yelp, it can be Manta Merchant Circle were big back in the day. It could be Facebook. It could be wherever it is. You're just taking them directly there. There's no searching. There's no link clicking. There's no hoping they open their email. There's no hoping that you're not interrupting them while they're in the grocery store and their toddler's throwing a tantrum because they can't get Fruity Pebbles because it's got red 40 in it or whatever reason they're dealing with. You're just tapping on a phone right after you completed a job. That will increase the quality, most definitely.
I just had a client this morning. It's a dentist that reached 300 5-star reviews.
Okay.
And they've probably been in business for about 3 years. So let's say an average 100. Um, but I'm thinking if he had the card and he's got the patient in the dental chair
Yep.
afterwards, that 300 could easily have been 600 plus.
Yeah. The main place that we see where reviews fail as an agency, and you'll get this as an agency owner as well, we see the failure on the office staff. The office staff are not trained to be salespeople. They're not trained to follow up. So, for example,
Okay.
I took my daughter to get a cleaning, and we walked out, and she said, "You owe $12." And I said, "Well, I don't think I owe $12. My insurance covers 100% of preventative care." She said, "Well, we ran your interest, your insurance," is what it said. And it's $12. It's not the end of the world. But the point is, the principle is, I'm not supposed to have to pay for my children to get preventative care. That's part of my
Right.
insurance, right? So now I'm talking to her about this, and she's trying to like make sure I'm having a good experience. And then I leave, and she never asks me about the card sitting there. She never asks me to leave a review. And so they get so caught up in doing their job that they don't see this as their job. And so I think it's just really incentivizing the dentist to say, hey, the dentist shouldn't ask for the review, in my opinion. I think you want to keep that the professional, non-transactional relationship. They're a healthcare
Okay, I got
provider, but your front office staff can and should. And again, great. How was your visit today? It was great. Amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. It would really help us out if you could leave us a review. Is that something you'd be willing to do? Absolutely. Cool. Would you mind just tapping that card there and it will actually load it for you? Because again, when do we want it? Right after a compliment, right after a win, right?
Okay.
I got to get a crown next week. Am I going to be apt to leave a review immediately after a crown? Just depends on how pain-free it is, right? But if I'm just coming in for preventative care, yeah, all day. Yeah, I'm happy. It's just happy to
Okay.
see everybody. You know what I mean? But that's just my opinion on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, great questions. So, and check those out. I mean, you can find them. You can find them online. There's lots of companies that make those, and you can get them pre-programmed, and you can get stickers and put them on there so they're branded with your agency branding too. That helps.
A friend suggested that I look at, I think it's Alibaba or Alibabi or you're in China.
Alibaba, yeah,
Okay.
Alibaba is an online marketplace through China where you can connect with Chinese manufacturers to make them, but there are a lot of US manufacturers who do it too, or import companies that import them from manufacturers like the people in
Okay.
Alibaba, and you can buy them domestically. So,
Okay. Awesome.
okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Of course. Shanny has a question here. Megan, Kevin, one of you guys want to read that?
Yeah. So can anything be done about fake reviews with low star ratings, maybe bots or competitors? I've seen this before. When reported to Google, it goes nowhere. What about online services claiming that they can remove those reviews?
Yeah, Megan, do you want to tackle the first part of that question, maybe? I think you deal with this pretty often.
Oh yeah. So there's two kind of schools of thought about dealing with low star reviews. One is the advice that we gave on how to respond to negative reviews. You could just use everything as an opportunity to talk about your business's integrity, how you do business, and how you make things right when they go wrong. And even if it's not real, just giving the response to that lets people know that you're a real human on the other side of that review response, and they can call you and have a conversation with you. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, when you get into like brand reputation, or maybe just somebody out there with a vendetta to pull you down in maps, that's different. There is an appeal process, but like you said, it really doesn't go nowhere. But I think sometimes it's not so much about like the fight of getting those reviews taken care of. It's more about your response. And not every low star review is the end of the world. And just address it on there. It doesn't have to go away or be removed. If you have somebody hitting you with bots, more than likely you have a paper trail that you can provide to Google that you'll get a response for. But I would just say respond to everything, respond politely, give them an opportunity to contact you offline. If no one ever calls, then you know it wasn't real. And if they do call, then you have an opportunity to get them to go back on there and say, we had a conversation about it and they did X, Y, and Z and it made me feel better.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to handle it. And I think it's unfortunate. We've had the better you get at digital marketing, the more you're going to run into the dark side of this. So in the SEO world, for example, there's what we call white hat SEO and black hat SEO. This comes from cowboys, and if you look at old westerns, the good cowboys always wore white, and the bad cowboys always wore black. And the people who are kind of like walking the line wore gray. So you've got like even Lord of the Rings, you've got white wizards, and you've got Gandalf the Gray. And then, you can even get, this applies to many aspects of film and visuality. But when it comes to this, the black hat side of things is people doing really negative, dark stuff. So, for example, we had a client, it was a women's boutique clothing brand, and we were able to rank them nationally for that term. And in just getting them to move from position two to position one, we're talking millions of dollars of revenue increases. But that's not money that just came out of nowhere. That's money that came out of somebody else's pocket. Then we just started seeing a bunch of them linking to what we call bad neighborhoods, poker pills, pornography. A lot of those sites started linking into this client to try to tear them down, and the client's freaking out. And there are official processes to disavow those and get those removed on the SEO side. But this is a real thing that happens, that if you're outranking somebody, they will play dirty to pull you down so that they can stay number one. So, like Megan said, reply to everything. If it's someone you don't recognize, you say, "Hey, we don't have any record of serving you. If you could please respond, we'd love to figure out how to make this right." That acknowledges to everybody else that you might be under some type of bot attack. If you can't say, "Hey, we don't even know who you are," sometimes they're mistaken. We've got a client with a very similar name to another client in the same city in California, and they get negative reviews all the time from them. Right? They also get a lot of phone calls from them, and they're happy to have the confusion because they get leads and deals from them instead of their competitor. But at the end of the day, are there review services that can take these down? They're probably going to do the exact same thing you're doing, right? And you're going to pay a premium for them to do what you can do on your own. So I would go the other route. I would start going with the dilution method of getting as many more reviews you can that are positive to offset those so that you can rank better, and you can get a better score online. So, Sandy, that's a tough spot. If there's anything we can do to help you, though, you can just schedule an audit, and Paul can look at your account specifically and provide you some specific guidance. So, I'd recommend signing up for that. There's a link in the chat. We can help you a little bit better there.
I have one more question, real
Yeah.
quick. How relevant or important it is for the frequency of reviews. So let's say I'm talking with a client, they've got a 4.8, but they only get reviews like once a month or twice a month, right? How does that weigh into all of the equation in reference to what you really need to have is, 2 reviews a week? But how do you communicate that?
Yeah, and the two review, the engine that I was talking about with the 2 reviews per week, that's specifically so that you can start getting and maintaining steady reviews. It's not necessarily like a magic number that we came up with.
Okay.
So I think there are factors to consider. One, what's the size of the market? Two, what's the frequency that their competitors are getting those reviews? So if they have a competitor who's posting reviews more consistently than they are, they're going to lose the foot race, right? You're running a
Okay.
marathon here. So it's about slow and steady wins the race here. We know that, but you have to outpace them to a degree. So this is where, if they may live in a market or have an industry that 2 reviews is a 20% conversion rate on the 10 clients they serve every month. Like that could be real. It could be 2 reviews per week on the 10 clients they're serving per week is still a good benchmark. And so you either need to get more, ask for more, or increase the conversion rate. I would bet it's more likely they just need to increase the conversion rate, and then that's going to improve things. But I think as far as your freshness question goes, or how frequent you're getting those, I think it's totally dependent on market and industry.
Okay.
I would want to see consistency that shows you're a real business. Every 2 weeks I mean, you can't argue that you're in business if you're getting a new review every 2 weeks. is it more impressive if you're getting 2 reviews a day? Is it better to get 10 reviews a week than it is to get no reviews per week? Yeah, there's a lot of other unspoken things,
Okay.
but
Thank you.
again, totally depends on market and the business. So
Okay.
yeah. Another great example of this, just to kind of drive that home, here in Utah, there's a company called Asphalt Zipper here in my hometown, Pleasant Grove, and that company um, sells the machines that strip asphalt off the freeways, right? But there are only 10 searches per month for those machines, and they're bought 2 at a time for 100,000 each. And so, is that a business you'd want to get into if there's only 10 searches per month? No, unless you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars on every unit you sell, and you're selling them 2 at a time. And that's a great example of how many reviews would you expect that business to get, right? One a month would be incredible, right? Like it'd be
Yeah.
really, so it's just all contextual, but good
Okay.
question. Okay. Any other questions from anybody else? We got Lisa, Shandy, anyone else online?
I don't see any other questions from anywhere else yet, but we have a couple minutes if anyone thinks of any.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm good here. Thank you so much for your time invested. Very
Yeah.
informational, that's for sure.
Yeah, awesome. We're sending out replays as well. So
Okay.
you know, some agencies don't want to, we're happy to help everybody, right? Like our big thing is demystifying this space and kind of there's a lot of bad actors in our space. We call them charlatans and snake oil salesmen in the digital space. So we're happy to help people like you. If our web classes are helpful to share with your clients, feel free to do that. That's totally appropriate for you to do. Just know we offer audits and things, so we don't want to conflict with anything you're doing. But you can take the information and share with them directly as well. So, okay.
Awesome.
Shandy says she's good. I think Lisa hasn't got anything. So I think that's it. We'll wrap it up. Thank you everybody for your time today. Again, rookdigital.com/audit. We'd be happy to help you there. We give you some specific feedback about your situation. And if there's anything else we can do, let us know. We will have another web class next week. We'll send information about that today. Megan, do we have that topic ready?
Yeah. So next Thursday, same time, same place, and it will be on how to track every lead on your website so you know it's working.
Perfect. Yep. So we're going to get into UTMs and analytics and all that fun, nerdy stuff. It's going to help you make some better data decisions. Okay. Thank you all. Appreciate you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
week. All right. Bye.